I'm live. Okay, that for some reason didn't seem to work, but I think I think it's actually live. So technical problems, but I'm here and I'm super excited about it. I'm kind of new to this live concept, so bear over with me with the if I mess up. But I can see you're already joining in. That's so cool. Uh, Hello, I'm just gonna quickly introduce myself. I do apologize if I look a little bit tired. It's only 9 p.m. here in Denmark, but I just finished putting my kids to sleep, and that is something that takes quite a long time. So I'm happy I managed to do it before talking to you guys. Please write in the comments where you're from. I'd love to hear how we are represented here in the world. This is the beauty about being online, that we can actually see each other in the online space here. I'm just gonna see who is saying hello here. Hi, Gail, Cassandra, Paula, Mariana, Roxana. It's so cool. So glad you're here and that I'm not here all by myself alone in my kitchen. Which was very possible that would have happened. So I'm so glad you're here and joined me. Just a little bit about myself. I'm Camilla, and I'm a watercolor artist from Denmark, and I've been painting for about 3 or 4 years, I think. I came down with stress from a work as a project manager when I had a real job, not like me now, just being an artist and trying to make a living out of that. Back when I had a real job, I went down with stress, and I found art to be so relaxing. And after a little bit of experimenting, I found out that watercolor was the perfect way for me. And now I moved down out in the country and live in my small house with 2 children and a beautiful, loving husband and 2 chubby cats and 4 chicks that are thankfully sleeping in their house outside in the garden. So I love it, and I'm so close to nature, and that is what is represented in my art as well. So a lot of you have seen a lot of my floral paintings, and that is the reason why I paint a lot of florals, because it's all here. So I love that. Um, I didn't start out in loose floral or in loose watercolor. You might have guessed. If you scroll down my Instagram feed, way down, way down, you'll see a lot of very detailed work from back when I was starting out, and I loved it back then. I'm just gonna say, oh, so many people are here. California, Oregon, so cool. Canada, I'm impressed you guys are. Okay, I have no idea about time zones, and you probably already know that because I messed up the time zones really bad when I created this. But oh, you live in Malta. Anthony, that's so cool. So I have no idea what time it is in your countries here, but oh, from Ringsted. That's that's cool. I actually teach workshops there, so you can join me if you like, Lotte. Oh, this is so cool. Ah, and Ida, I'm so glad you're here. Nice. Um, I'm so sorry I'm chatting about. I would love to hear what you think loose watercolor is, because a lot of people have different opinions about this. So I'd love to hear what you feel like loose watercolor is. And of course, I'll tell you mine. But there's not really a right or wrong answer here. But as you get a few minutes to answer that before I reveal my not very secret, but at least my rendition of it. But when you get a chance to write a answer, if you feel like chipping in, I can tell you that I just launched my new course on loose florals, and I'm not going to tell you a lot about it, but am going to tell you some of it, a bit about it after I give you these 3 tips on loose watercolor florals, because I really feel like a webinar should be about knowledge and not so much about advertising. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about the course, and I'm also going to have a prize for you, which is I'm going to pick one winner who's one of those people who sign up from now and 24 hours from now. So in the next day, the reason I'm giving you such a long time is that this will be recorded and sent out to other people as well who are in other time zones. So the winner will get a 30-minute Zoom call that can where I can review and feedback and everything to your projects. So more about that later, and more about the course later. Now I'll go back to actually seeing what you have been written here. Oh, the brush stands. I love it, Cassandra. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Not overthinking. Yes, good point. Trying to let paint go more. Yes. Not so detailed. Yeah. Oh, you guys are great. Letting water work its magic. Yes. Lisa, you're right on point. I love it. Yes, letting the water paint for you. Flowing lines. Seriously, you guys are killing it. I love it. I can see you're not as tired as I am. That's so cool. I'm so glad you're giving me these inputs. That's such a great way to start this webinar. I love it. The way I see loose florals or loose watercolor is that you have a style. Well, it's just a style, really. It's a style to paint in, but it's also a visual language. So when you are, I couldn't agree more with all your suggestions about letting the water do its work and really relaxing and just enjoying the process. But it's mostly, that's all the techniques that kind of lead to the visual language of loose watercolor. And I think it's important to focus on both, because the techniques is what actually gets us to the visual language of loose watercolor. And the visual language is where we actually observe what we're going to paint, be it a flower or a house, building, or people, or whatever. Observing and really figuring out what it is, analyzing it, and then we can translate it into the loose watercolor. And it takes some steps because we have to kind of narrow the details down in our head. So when we are studying something, we can take me as an example. If you're studying me and wanted to paint me in a loose style, the first thing you have to do is actually look at the shapes. How am I looking? And how would you translate this? And you probably need to sketch it out a couple of times to actually get that loose feel of your rendition of it. Because the first time or the second time we paint something, it'll be too detailed and too forced. So we do it a couple of times and get into that visual style. So that is, for me, loose watercolor is very much a visual language. Yes, and just for you guys, I made a script. This I think it's the first time ever. So just to make sure I have all the points. So I'm gonna put that here. And now I'm gonna go into the 3 tips. The first one first, of course. And that tip is quite simple. Less is more. Oh, Eva, I'm so glad you joined us as well. Welcome back from your walk. That's so cool. I just wrote to you on Instagram. Less is more is such an important aspect of watercolor, and especially loose watercolor. And it actually goes in hi Mary. It actually goes in 3 categories of less is more, at least what I've written on my page. here. Few colors. So that's the first one. It's quite important that you think about not putting too many colors in your work. If you have a big range of colors, it complicates it a lot, and you get muddy colors and you think too much. And we're back to that not overthinking stuff. The fewer colors you have, the less you think. And that will really help you loosen up and interpret this style. Also, try to see if you can not mix them too much. So less is more goes with the mixing as well. I actually very rarely use my palette. I have it next to me, but I rarely use it. I mostly use my colors directly from the pans or the tubes and to the paint paper. And when I have the water laying out on the page, the paint will mix together naturally and create a lot better mixing of the colors, and you get a lot brighter colors. So less is more goes with how many paints you use and how you use them, of course. I'll just show you an example here. Here you go. This is from the class here in the first week, and I'm just going to show you the simple color palette and how the colors. Can I get this too? Yeah. You can see how the peony is actually built from the quinacridone rose. It's a sap, the sap green here, and there's a Payne's gray in the shadows. There's a little bit of new gamboge, but those four colors are actually interacting so much that they create this beautiful, intense, bright look that loose watercolor can do. And that's because I don't mix it on the page. So really think about your palette. And actually in this class, I only use 8 colors in the entire class. So that's something to think about. 4 weeks and 8 colors. And it's not that I don't have them. Just a quick tip on paints when I have you here. I use a palette like this, and I have my tube paints and I squeeze them in here. So I really like to work with tube paints, but they are quite expensive. But when I do this and let them dry for like 24 hours, 48 hours, something like that, you can really use them for a long time. So that's a good way to get some professional paint that you can use for a long, long time. Just a quick tip. I wanted to add it in while I had you here. So not that you need anything professional or my kind of paint or anything. Very important. In the course, I'm actually writing an alternatives list. So if you don't have the colors, there's alternative choices. Less is more goes with brushes as well. You know this problem? I have it. I'm a hoarder. I'm always collecting brushes. But you actually need very little. And when you go into a painting, it's a good idea to actually choose a few and just go with that. And I have these 2 that I use in the entire course, and that's because I have a big semi big. This is a 9 round brush, and then a detail brush in a size 4. Not much, and I use them very strategically. So when I'm using the bigger, bolder layers, I use the big brush, and when I'm going detailed, it's the detail brush. So very important. Less is more, also with brushes. Yes. Few layers. That's the last one in my less is more point here. Few layers. If you use too many layers, you can tend to overwork your piece, which is very common, and I'm guilty of it too. I am, but try to see if you can not overwork it, and you can do that in several ways. But one of the ways is to be very strategic with the layers you use. So think about if you have put your layer down, what is this layer going to do? So first, I recommend 3 layers. You can go with more, and you shouldn't be afraid of layers either, but it's how you use them. The first layer for me is the first wash. This is very watery and it dries up very bright or very light. So because we use so much water, we'll come back to that later. Thank you, Eva. So first wash, very watery, very light. Let that dry completely, and this will set the stage for your painting. Then the next layer, I think, would be great to call strengthening the colors, because we have these very light colors. We know how the motif and the composition is going to work because we put down the first layer of first wash, but we want to strengthen the colors. So you do that with the second layer and then let it dry, of course. And then we can go detailed with our detail brush. So I'm not actually pulling this out until the last moment. Well, in theory, I can't always help myself, but in theory, you have these 3 types of layers, and you can go with other layers as well. Of course, you can also have a background and stuff like that and work with other things, but that is the key point here, and it's mainly the few layers that is important here. So to conclude the less is more point, a few colors and how to use them. Very less is more. No mixing. It's not too much. Few brushes and few layers. Simple. Yes. The next one is also quite simple, but also a little bit hard. That is the water part, and you guys completely nailed it. I'm just gonna scroll through here to see if I had letting water work its magic with the pigments. Yes, definitely. Let the paint and water do their thing. Simone, you are completely right. Exactly. We want to let the water do its thing, and that is so important. And we can do that in quite a lot of ways. I pulled this out. I taped a watercolor paper to this board. And the reason I did that is to keep it flat and try to avoid buckles, because when we are working with water, and especially if we work with a lot of water, we can risk getting buckles on our paper. So tape it down, and you will get, hopefully, not too many buckles. If you have one of these pages that are like this, very wavy, you know it. Then I'm just gonna show you here. Take a water spray. I think this is for roses or something. Never used it for that. But take your page and spray it underneath and lay it flat, and you should be able to get rid of some of those buckles. So that's just a tip for you. But for now, I wanted to just talk about adding water, because you can do that in so many ways. And first, this is the simple one. I have a glass of water here, by the way. I'm just gonna take my brush and I'm gonna show you. So this is the thing we've seen so many times, but you just add the water, and you have a wet page and you can put in the paint. It's quite simple. The second one is a little bit more difficult, but a lot more fun. You take the water and you just kind of do like this, and you get a random pattern of water. I'm not sure you can see this. Hello from Ohio, Sandra. That's so cool. Thanks for joining. I'm just showing you how to add water to the page here. So you can see here that it gives a random pattern compared to this that is very straightforward. But there's other ways as well. You can use this as well. This will give a very, it's not easy to see here. Okay, you get the idea. It gives a pattern of water droplets that will really transport the color in between the paint or the droplets. So try this, it's so fun. The last one is a water spray, so the same as before, it's just smaller, so you can kind of guide the paint in the direction that you want. So that is a few ways to add water, and don't be scared of water. The main mistake I've seen beginners and also advanced students make is actually adding way too little water. We're kind of scared to let go of the control, I think. And that is one of the hardest things with watercolor, loose watercolor, is to actually let go of that control. So when you are adding your water, make sure you add enough. You can always take a piece of tissue and just pull some of it away. You want to have more than you feel comfortable with, I'm pretty sure. At least try it and see how it goes. I think it'll make your paint flow more naturally. So try that and see how it goes. Just make sure that you haven't got any of those water pools on your page, because it'll make blooms, and blooms can be amazing, and we can work with blooms. I love blooms, but if you don't want them, it can be super annoying. So if you have water puddles here and there, make sure that you kind of lift them so you have an even surface of water, because it's just annoying if you have blooms in places you don't want. So we try to avoid that, shall we? I'm just gonna put a poll up. I'm just gonna try this. This is exciting. This is the first time I'm doing this, just to see if you're actually comfortable using water. Let's see. I'm excited about this. I have no idea if it works, but I pushed a button and now it might work. Let's see. Can you see the poll? Are you oh, people answering. Great. I love it. Oh, that's so cool. It's here. I love it. I'm just gonna give you a few seconds to answer it, and I can just switch my page here. So you'll get another tip in a second. Just gonna scroll down here. Yes. Oh, you are comfortable using water. That's so cool. I'm glad, because it can. Apparently, it's one of the most terrifying things to use a lot of water, especially if we are tending to be a little bit perfectionist about. Thank you, Eva. I see the poll as well, and a lot of people are answering here. So at the moment, 53% is actually comfortable with using a lot of water, and only 8 is not. So the rest in the middle is well, not sure. That was American. I'm sorry. I want to use a lot of water. Yes, Wendy, that is true. That is, they say you need to have the right ratio of water to paint. Very true. And that is very, very true. But that is something that comes with practice, of course. And I think oftentimes you need more than you actually think. But a lot of people will say that you. I'm just going to pull this poll down here. A lot of you people will say that they are not, that you shouldn't use too much water because you can control it as much. But if you actually want that loose flowing look, it's like it's fluid. It's a fluid look, so it makes sense that there should be fluids. So in this style and in this in this visual language, you definitely need to use more water. Yes. I'm just going to take a question more here from Marilyn. Can your paper actually be too dry and not handle the water properly. Not sure if it can be too dry. It's either dry or, do you mean not handle the paint probably? Not sure. Paula, yeah, it does bubble, and even if like old paper, okay, it probably can, yeah, and there can be some weird surface on some papers that don't handle water as well. Um, Cotton paper handles water super well. But I use cellulose paper, cheap paper, watercolor paper in most of this class, and it works really well as well. So you might want to go out and actually buy something that's not too old. And Paula, yeah, you try and tape it down and see if that works. Stretching the paper, great question, Nadine. A lot of people will, I'm not sure it's a lot. Some people will say that stretching the paper is very important. And when you stretch the paper, you kind of soak it in water and let it lay there for quite a while. And then you put it up to a surface and tape it down and let it dry for like a gazillion years. And I'm a mother to two small children, so that would never happen. So I actually never tried stretching, but it should work really well. So if you have the time and the patience, then try it. I think it will definitely work, but it's easier and faster to actually go with paper that can handle water, 300 grams as a minimum, and taping it down with tape or have the glued pads is working really well for me. I'm gonna show you an example here. This is pretty straight. Used quite a lot of water for this iris here, but it's still not buckly. And this is cellulose, but it's 300 grams, so it'll work well. I was told that the glue is the name. That the clue is the name. Watercolor. Yes, you are completely right, Terry. I love that. I'm just gonna put a laugh. Yeah, there you go. I love this live format. It's so cool that I can actually talk to you guys. That's so cool. I'm gonna do this more, I think. But water, using a lot of water is the second tip I'm gonna give you. So first, less is more. Oh, I'm gonna take this question just in a second. Nadine, you don't need Arches paper, and you definitely don't need 400 grams. It's so expensive. And I had a block of Arches laying for like, I think half a year before I even dared touch it, and then I actually hated it. So you don't need that. But I would go with 300 grams. No need for Arches. No. You can go with Arches, but I use Canson Heritage, and that I love it. And you can, and that's my cotton paper. It's Canson Montval, my cellulose paper, and that's cheap. So you don't need Arches. Yeah, stretching is a drag. I know. So I was saying that less is more was the first tip, and using a lot of water is the second tip. I have a third tip for you, and that is that we talked about this, but this is a visual language, and you should think about it as a visual language, and actually treat it like that, which is a kind of something that you need to learn and kind of need to master a little bit. So don't just, you can of course just jump in and have fun and let loose, and I definitely recommend you do that because that's so fun. But if you want to really get into this, think of it as something you need to learn. So the first thing you want to do is take your subject and actually observe it. let's take a flower. You want to take a look at it, see how are the petals sitting on the flower, how are the stems attached, is it attached to other flowers, what angles is it showing, how's it looking from beneath and above, and how does the leaves attach, and how does the leaves kind of make this a interesting flower, because this is an entire piece that you're probably not going to paint everything, and you might even just go with the pictures from Unsplash or Pixabay, and that's totally fine. I'm going to do that here in the winter as well. But if you have the chance, actually get to the flower and see how it's working, how it's looking from different angles, and you'll definitely get a lot better idea of what this is. Then you want to sketch it out. And I know a lot of you might say that you're not really comfortable with drawing, and that's totally fine. But I think you should try sketching anyway. And don't feel like you need to create a masterpiece, but you need to figure out the shapes of this. And if you throw in water and paint and stuff is flowing, and you lose the sense of this shape really fast. But if you do a pencil sketch, it's easy to control. You really get a feel of this shape. And then when you have done that, you can go and explore the loose watercolor, because you kind of need to get that shape in your head before you can actually translate it into a visual language. So when you sketch it out, you can do other sketches in watercolor as well, and then you can actually use the sketch as a guide and do the loose watercolor on top of it, or you can just have it in the back of your mind and then go and let loose and put down some paint and be super intuitive. I'm just gonna show you a little bit of that process here. I took an iris as an example. Here we go. There's just a quick sketch of how it'll look in a quick the big flower, and then we have a more withered one just here, and a bud over here. So just a quick sketch just to observe it and see how the angles go. And then I actually did a sketch more just in loose watercolor to see how I could get the paints to flow in the water and create those shapes that I've just observed. And then after doing that, I created this iris that is super loose and super fun to paint. And it's so much fun because I actually did it a couple of times, so I was a lot more comfortable in doing this. And it's not cheating, but I actually drew this in pencil first, and then just erased afterwards. But I still get that loose look, even if I have a guide. So you can definitely do that. But you can also just go rogue and create something that's super intuitive and loose, like this one as well. So definitely a lot of ways to interpret loose watercolor and loose flowers. Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed the sketching exercise. Cool, Gail. Yes, and that kind of leads me into the course, because I'm going to tell you a bit about the course now. So it's totally fine if you just wanted the information about the loose watercolor. I'm not gonna, no hurt feelings here. You can go and get a cup of coffee, and that's totally fine. But I'm going to tell you a bit about the course now, because this is a 4-week course, and so I'm just gonna take another paper here. This is a 4-week course. It's a live course, and this is my first time creating a live course, so that is really, really cool. I'm so excited about this, especially here in a pandemic. There's something very special about having a live course. Katie, no, I actually don't, but you can do that, and I think it works really well. She asked if you can use watercolor pencils for outlines, so try it. I think it works really well, and it hides behind the paint. yes, there's something very special about actually having a community in this time of year or these trying times. So I'm actually seeing a lot of people introducing themselves in the Facebook group. That is so cool. And I'm so excited about this. So I can't wait to get started on the course. The live aspect is um, kind of I made it with the whole world in my mind. So I know we're all in different time zones, and I didn't want to sit here and have the rest of the world not be able to participate. So I do weekly reviews every week. That's 4 weeks. So Wednesday I gather questions and projects to review, and I record a video for you to watch on Thursdays. So it's not live, like you have to sit there. Uh, it's going to be just for you to watch. And if you purchase the course, there will be a lifelong access to it. So you won't miss anything if you are not sitting there right at the moment. I upload every week new information, new tutorials. I just uploaded week 1 today, which is super exciting. And week 2 will be uploaded on Friday. That's going to be all about greens, a lot of flowy greens and foliage to really enhance our watercolor works. Week 3 is about controlling our loose watercolors and with a pencil outline. So we're going to paint this step by step iris. It's going to be so much fun. I love it. This is one of my favorites. And for week 1, we're going to let loose and just have fun with an intuitive painting. So this is the project for that. And I'm so excited about this class. Seriously, you have no idea. So I can't wait to reveal this into the world. Also, there's some bonus content. There's some warm-up exercises, the sketching exercises like we just heard, and there's also the sketches in pencil as well in watercolor. Oh, I just made up these exercises. I'm so proud. And then there's something else. I'm just gonna see if I can find it here. You're going to learn to paint bugs, both the bumblebees and butterflies and ladybugs. And this is just about having fun and trying to see if we can forget the world just a bit. So I hope some of you might want to consider joining me in class. As I said before, if you sign up for the class in the next 24 hours, you will join in the contest of a Zoom call, 30 minutes with me, which is kind of weird, promising a prize about me, but that is the prize anyways. I think it's a good thing to win a person in these times of the days, don't you think? I hope. I'm just going to take a few questions now. So if you have questions, please type them in, and I will get to them. And Barbara, let's see, what time is it live? Week 1, October already. Yes, it's uploaded week 1. I as soon as I get up in the morning. So and I put send the kids to kindergarten. I will upload push the launch button. So week 1 is already available and it's been up there for I think 10 hours. So at 9 a.m. I think I'm gonna push the button. 9 a.m. in Denmark. So you do the calculations and see what time zone it is for you. But Friday at some point. Yes. Anybody else for some questions here? Oh, this is a good question also. Do you ever use a blue pencil instead of a regular pencil? It can erase the pencil underneath the watercolor. Really? It can? I actually use a blue pencil quite a lot, but that's mostly for my, I'm just going to show you here. It's mostly for sketches like this. More like cute. This is a cute bat thing, but you can see I'm doing the sketches here in the blue, and then I use them as a guide. But I'm not sure if you can actually erase the blue pencil, Mary. Can you? Can you? Thank you, Simone. Yeah, I'm ready to go to bed as well. Have you put a supply list somewhere? Yes, there's a supply list in the there's a supply list in the course. I have a complete list in the beginning of all the supplies I'm using in the course, also with alternatives. So if you haven't got this particular sap green, I give you an alternative to what you can use instead. So I have a supply list, and also in every week I do a supply list as well, so you can see in the exact projects what I use there. So definitely. Oh, I have to try that to see if I can actually erase it underneath the. Okay, cool. Barbara, I don't understand what the live course means. Is it interactive like this or no? Oh, yes. No, it's not like a live broadcast like this. I chose not to do that because time zones are so tricky. So to make sure that as many people could join, it's not live like this. But the live aspect is the Facebook group, which is super active at the moment, and hopefully it'll stay that. Um, and it's the weekly review, so I gather all the questions and do a review video every week, so I can answer questions as well. Okay, midnight California, cool. And hello from Florida. It's so cool that you guys are jumping in and joining in here even this late. That's so cool. I'm just looking for more questions here. So if you have more questions, there's a blue marker pencil that seems to use that water will usually erase. Ah, Kaylee, that's true. I used that when I very briefly uh, was sewing my own dresses, which is very briefly. But that's true. I'm so intrigued. I'm gonna use that as well. Thank you for answering that. 6 p.m. California. So I'm surprised at the at the how many people are coming here from all over the world, and that is definitely the reason why I'm doing this format, because and also because I have no idea where my kids are sleeping. So that's just another thing. This is a lot safer. I love this live format, so I think I'm gonna do something about it, but something. What non-granulating blues do you use for skies? Oh, great question. I actually use a Prussian blue for my skies. I haven't got it here except in my palette. I mostly use, you can't see it. That this doesn't make sense to show it here. I use a Prussian blue, and that's not granulating. So I think it works really well. But I think skies are tricky, and I actually like granulating skies. Sometimes I use paint spray as well. Depends on the sky and how. If you want it to be a super bright blue sky, a summer sky, then I think I would go with something else. But definitely the Prussian blue is my go-to, and that's a Winsor Newton color. Yes. Let's see. More colors. But I would never go with the French ultramarine. So granulating. It would make something really weird. Except for you, if you're doing like a thunderstorm, that would be so cool. I'm just looking for more questions. Here on your Facebook site, will the classes, Chris? I'm just reading your question here. Will the classes be here on your Facebook site? No, the class is on my school. I'm just gonna find a link for it here. Just a second, so you can see it. I think there should be a link below the live broadcast here as well. I'm just gonna put a link here to the class so you can see it. Cobalt is a good choice as well. I think there's a lot of great blues. I once got one of those dot cards from Daniel Smith, and I loved it. It was getting way too expensive for me because I wanted them all. But shouldn't. No. Indigo is a great blue as well. Very dark. Let's see. Questions. Candy, I'm in. Yeah, you are. I love it. I'd love for you to join. And so many people already joined this class, so I'm seriously excited to get started with this. This is going to be so much fun. I think that is all the questions there is. I'm going to give you 2 more minutes for a question. Your dad is 100 years old. Oh, I love it. Beatrix, I love that you are here. Yes, Mariana, that's true. I don't mix colors too much before I put them on paper. And create one specific color that matches the real life flower or sky. Great question. You mentioned that. That's such a good question. I think I'm just going to think about that for just a second. You can, of course, mix and be super exact and try to match that color. I usually don't, and I can see why you would like to, but oftentimes it's you when you mix colors, you won't be able to get the same mix. So every time you need to mix quite a lot of paint before you can use it and have the same color. So I actually don't do that too much, and of course I try to paint the real life flowers, but I'm just going to show you an example here. I did a hydrangea in my garden, and this is not close to the real life flowers, but they were pink and they had something yellowish and something, when they are starting to wither and they kind of have something green in them. So I was kind of inspired by that and just tried to put that down on the paper and not trying to get the exact colors. You can totally go with that and then you will just mix away. But I'm really not, I don't tend to do that too much. Great, the link was in the email. The dot cards are not that expensive, Kaylee, so you can totally go with the dot cards. Mary Ellen, I love your comment. She just wrote that I'm impressed that you know how to pronounce refrigerator. Yeah, I love it. That's not easy, you guys. You're getting a heart here. Oh no, I still love it, but you're gonna get an haha here instead. I loved it. And will you be touching on negative painting white space? Yes, I will. And could you ask here is the colors or the intuitive painting, and this is very much in a negative painted style. And I actually didn't paint the vase at first. I just kind of painted the area around it, and then painted the area around here as well. So I actually created these with droplets of water and revealed them in a negative painting. So I'm going to go over this project very much in detail in week 4 of the course. But yes, negative painting is very important in this particular aspect. And I'm also going to cover it in leaves as well, when we are using negative painting to create the veins in the leaves. Some colors that are a must-have, Erica, that's a good question. I think, as I said before, you don't need to have the colors that I use. I use 8 colors in the class, and that's not a lot, but you don't need them. I think a must-have that is hard to get an alternative to is the Payne's Gray. I use that quite a lot, and it's a lovely color. I love it's that one. The very dark bluish tone, so beautiful and rich, and I love that color. And it's a must-have. Even if you're not doing the course, it's a must-have. You need to have this color. I think that's the only must-have that is so really important. The other ones are the cool red. I have the quinacridone rose, but a cool red in some kind, pink or something like that, will work fine. Sap green is something I use a lot, but you can use another tone of green, as long as it's a warm green or it's a green that you can tone down with something else, like the rose, for example. Oh, Mary Ellen, that's a good advice. The sky has so many colors. I was taught to lay down an undercoat of ochre and maple yellow. That's a good idea. And the sky has so many colors. I actually try to always match the colors that I use in the ground in the sky as well. So kind of use the same colors and mix them up. So I'm not almost never just using blue. Welcome, Gail. I think that is all the questions that we. That was Melanie. You're fast. See, Melanie, that's a good question. I had that question a couple of times. I'm not sure actually. You might want to go with something like some of you know, and please chip into the comments and answer that. Indigo is a good alternative, yes. But if you haven't got indigo either, you can go with something black and put a little bit of blue in it. Just try not to do a granulating blue. Otherwise it'll do weird stuff you don't want. But like a lamp black and Prussian blue. Not that much blue, but try to see if you can mix it something like that. But indigo is a good choice as well. Yes. Not any more questions. That's so cool. I just want to say thank you so much for joining me here. Ultramarine and burnt umber. Great idea. I'm gonna try that combination as well. Erica, thank you. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you learned something and got something out of it. And I am thrilled that so many of you showed up, and now I'm gonna go to bed and have some sleep. I will see you on Facebook or Instagram or in class or wherever you feel like finding me. And I just want to say goodbye and just keep going with those comments. I love it. Yeah.